Welcome to the 2024 end-of-year wrap-up of the LilyList Podcast. Our goal is still to be a handbook for the living, but in this episode, we let NotebookLM take the lead on recapping the journey thus far. We are thankful for each and every guest and listener who shared their story, supported our work, and helped us understand what is important, why stories and legacies are important, and how we can better serve our audience going forward. We're excited to announce the LilyList Concierge and Self-Guided experiences that will be launching in the first quarter of 2025. You can visit the website at LilyList.com to learn more about them. Our sincere hope is that creating simple but powerful tools will help foster a movement where each of us can capture our own valuable stories and leave behind a legacy that connects with people we may never meet. The podcast, of course, will continue on. Our first guest interview in 2025 will be with writer and entrepreneur JV Hilliard. We're very much looking forward to sharing that conversation with all of you. As always, visit LilyList.com for more information on the podcast and platform. You can also contact us from the website if you have questions or ideas for people or topics you'd like to see us cover in the future. If you'd like to support the work of LilyList, you can donate using the links in the description. And if you find these conversations meaningful, we thank you for liking, following, sharing, or subscribing wherever you listen. And without further ado, here's a recap of LilyList 2024 by our future AI rulers, courtesy of NotebookLM by Google. Thanks for everything, and happy 2025.
Welcome back, everybody. We're diving in for a special year-end episode.
Yeah, looking back at all the incredible conversations we've had on LilyList this past year.
It's been a journey, right?
Exploring legacy, really getting into not just the traditional definition of legacy, like what do you leave behind financially, but really thinking about the impact we have on each other.
Absolutely. The impact we have on others, how we want to be remembered. And we've met some amazing people along the way.
We really have such a fascinating mix.
Entrepreneurs, artists, healthcare workers.
Honestly, the range has been fantastic. Each guest brought something so unique to the table, right?
Totally. And it's really cool how, even though everyone comes from such different backgrounds.
Right. Total opposite ends of the spectrum sometimes.
There are these common threads that run through all their stories.
Oh, for sure. Like that human connection piece.
Huge.
Finding your purpose. And how often life takes those unexpected turns.
Wasn't that how?
Like sometimes it feels like you're on this one path and then boom, something totally different happens.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is a perfect segue into our first big takeaway from this year.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Unconventional paths to legacy.
Love it. And we met so many incredible people who really embody that, right? Like they just zigzagged their way to making a difference.
Zigzagged is the perfect word. I'm thinking of JT Habersat.
Oh, JT. What a story, right? From punk rock to stand-up comedy. And now he's creating these spaces for such diverse voices in comedy.
I love that he took that spirit of challenging the norm from his punk rock days.
Oh, totally. He just brought that energy right into the world of stand-up. And it's inspiring because it shows us that legacy isn't always a straight climb. Sometimes you got to take the scenic route.
You really do.
And then there's Chris Papalardo talk about a multifaceted career.
Yeah.
Music, pianos, real estate. It's like, is there anything this guy hasn't done?
I know, right? It's so interesting how his story really highlights that our understanding of legacy can change over time. It's so true. It's not static. It's always evolving. I mean, what you consider success when you're younger can shift so much as you get older, and that's okay.
Absolutely. It's like we're allowed to change our minds about what's important to us.
Exactly. It's your journey. And Chris is such a good example of embracing all those different passions and letting them lead you in unexpected directions.
Right. And we can't forget about Nancy Dillingham.
Oh, Nancy. She's incredible. Finding that passion for fused glass later in life.
I know. And she's created such a sense of community through her art.
It's beautiful. And such a good reminder that it's never too late to find your passion,
It really is. It's like she just didn't let age define her or limit her in any way.
That's the spirit. It's never too late to dive into something new and make an impact.
So we've got these unconventional paths, these unexpected turns. But what really gets me is how many of our guests have also dealt with some pretty major challenges.
Oh, absolutely. And those challenges have shaped their understanding of family in some really profound ways.
It's that resilience, right?
Sure.
That ability to face those tough times head on.
Judy Dutcher's story about finding strength in her children after her husband's suicide was one of the most powerful conversations we had all year.
It was just incredible. The way she talked about leaning on her kids, their love, helping her through that unimaginable loss, it stayed with me.
It really makes you appreciate the power of family, how they can be that source of healing even in the darkest of times.
It really does. And then there's Chris Locklear, who was so open about his difficult childhood.
And how it inspired him to dedicate his life to community service, right? Almost like he wanted to be that support system he didn't have growing up.
It's amazing, isn't it? Turning his pain into purpose, making sure others wouldn't have to face those same struggles alone.
It's incredible. And then we have Beth Talbert, who searched for her biological family.
Talk about a journey of self-discovery. And what I found so fascinating about her story was that it really showed that family isn't always just about blood ties.
Oh, absolutely. It's about finding those people who truly see you, who make you feel like you belong. And that can be anyone. Friends, chosen family, mentors. It's about creating those connections and nurturing them.
Beautifully said. Beth's journey really emphasizes that family can be fluid, changing and growing throughout our lives, and sometimes the most unexpected connections can become the strongest bonds.
So true. But what all of these stories, Judy's, Chris's, Beth's, they all show us that even though these difficult experiences are painful, they can also lead to incredible growth. They force us to reevaluate what really matters, what our values are, and ultimately what kind of impact we want to make on the world.
So we've talked about these unconventional paths and these incredible stories of resilience. But how do we ensure those stories are passed down? How do we make sure those legacies live on?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And it's something so many of our guests grappled with, and that leads us perfectly into our next theme.
Hit it.
Storytelling and capturing memories, because that's how we keep those legacies alive.
It's how we share those lessons learned, the wisdom gained, and honestly, sometimes those funny anecdotes that just make you laugh.
It's about preserving those little moments that make up a life well-lived, because they all matter.
They really do.
When I think about storytelling and capturing memories, Lydia Lunch comes to mind immediately.
Oh, Lydia Lunch, yeah. She's all about it.
I mean, that woman is a force, and she believes so strongly in the power of art to, challenge history,
It's like she's creating her own archive.
Exactly. She's making sure those alternative voices are heard, that her perspective on things is documented and preserved. And it really gets you thinking, right?
Big time. About how we're preserving our own stories.
Right. Are we taking the time to document those memories, those lessons, for future generations?
It's a really good point. Are we writing things down, recording voice memos? It's something to think about.
For sure. And Corinne Oman was so interesting to talk to about this.
Oh, yeah. Her approach to end-of-life planning was fascinating.
She was so proactive, wanted to make sure everything was in order, her wishes respected, but her family.
A little more resistant.
Understatement. It just highlighted how important it is to have those tough conversations while we can,
It's about taking control of your own narrative. And Tom Troyer talked about this too, but from a different angle.
Oh, yeah.
His reflections on really being present with your loved ones really stuck with me.
He emphasized the value of being intentional with the time you have left.
Exactly. It's like those everyday moments, they're the ones that really matter.
Savor them, because
Yeah.
they truly make up the fabric of our lives, of our relationships.
They really do. And then we talked to Ginger Gleason, who actually regretted not keeping a journal.
Aw.
She felt like she'd missed this huge opportunity to capture all those meaningful moments from her nursing career.
Oh, wow. It makes sense, though. There are so many ways to document those experiences, Pick what works for you.
Find your thing. Writing, voice memos, video diaries. Just do something to make sure those stories are preserved.
Because they matter. Even the small ones, the ones that seem insignificant.
Anna?
They do. Those little observations, those funny anecdotes, it all paints a more complete picture of who we are.
It really does. And it all circles back to that idea of legacy.
It does. And that leads us to our final theme.
Big one.
Facing mortality and finding peace.
Ooh, that's deep.
It is. And it's something we tend to shy away from as a society, right? But it's such a fundamental part of the human experience.
I can't escape it.
No. And I think Eddie Pepitone really brought that home.
He did. His reflections on aging, letting go of ego, finding fulfillment in service to others, it was powerful.
It was. It's like as you get older, you start to see things differently, And that focus shifts from yourself to how you can contribute to something bigger.
To leaving the world a little better than you found it.
Absolutely. And then we had Petr Krastev, his story about hitting rock bottom and finding a new path through faith. Talk about incredible.
Incredible is right. It really highlighted how finding your purpose whatever that looks like for you, can literally change your whole trajectory.
A total transformation.
And Angie Brenson, with her experience in hospice care, she brought such a unique perspective.
She did. Being around death and dying for so long, she'd come to see it as just a natural part of life, something to accept rather than fear.
It's almost a liberating way to think about it, Like if you can accept that it's all part of the cycle, it frees you up to really focus on living fully in the present.
I love that. And then there's Suzanne Goodell. Her optimism in the face of her cancer diagnosis, wow. Just wow.
Talk about inspiring. Choosing to find joy, to look for those moments of beauty, even in the midst of such difficulty.
The power of mindset, right. It really shows how much control we have over how we experience things, even when they're challenging.
It's powerful. And it all comes down to this, right? Life throws curveballs.
All the time.
But we get to choose how we react to them, how we frame them, and ultimately, how we face the unknown. And it reminds us that building a legacy isn't about striving for some kind of impossible perfection. It's about owning those imperfections, learning from those missteps along the way.
It's about using all those experiences, the good and the bad, to really figure out who you are, and then hopefully leave things a little brighter than you found them.
It's about living a life that feels authentic and meaningful. And when I think about that, it really gets to the heart of what LilyList is all about.
Rightly. It's about sharing these stories, these different perspectives on what it means to make a mark on the world. And hopefully along the way, we inspire each other to think about how we want to live.
To live with more intention, more purpose.
Exactly. It's been such an incredible year, filled with these amazing conversations, so many thought-provoking moments.
I've learned so much.
Me too. And the best part, seeing how our listeners have connected with these stories, the comments, the discussions, that sense of community that's built up around LilyList.
It's been amazing to witness, and we are so grateful for every single listener.
We really are. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us, for sharing your own thoughts and reflections along the way. You're the reason we do this.
We couldn't do it without you. And speaking of exciting things, we have some big news for 2025.
We do.
Early in the new year, we're going to be launching some new tools to help you capture your own stories.
You're so pumped about this.
These tools are going to make it easier than ever to preserve those precious memories, those life lessons.
Everything that makes your story unique.
We can't wait to share them with you.
Because LilyList is about so much more than just listening to a podcast.
It's about actively participating.
It's about connecting, sharing, and inspiring one another.
To live more intentionally and to create a legacy that truly reflects who you are.
So as we head into 2025,
we want to leave you with a question.
A question to ponder.
What story will you add to the LilyList tapestry in the year to come? What impact will you make?
What memories will you preserve? What will your legacy be? We can't wait to see what you create. Thanks for being on this journey with us.
Happy New Year, everyone.
You can't hang on to yourself. You don't have to try not to hang on to yourself. It can't be done, and that is salvation. The most important thing for anyone to realize is that you and every person you see will soon be dead.